missed a lot of us today, huh?
Yeah.
One more question.
One more. Are we missing it? Let's go ahead and start with the guys.
All right, we'll start with questions for the players. Reminder, please address the player by name. Start with Zach.
Zuby, when you left the floor for the last time, looked like you were breaking down a little. What was that like? That the emotions, you had the whole crowd chanting your name, and you obviously looked like it kind of got to you there. What did that feel like?
Who was crying?
You was crying. See?
Come on,
told you about
guys.
that. I told you about that.
I
told you about that.
Come on, guys.
I told you about that. I see that tear.
Come on, bro. You see, this is why I don't be doing nothing. I can't even show emotion no more. Anyways, man, it was just bittersweet. You know, obviously, you know, like I've said, you know, pretty much all year, we've had a target on our backs, and we had to battle through adversity all season. Nobody, you know, believed that we could get to this moment but us. You know, everybody in the locker room, and these guys, they earned it, man. They earned it. This is why they came here for it, and we accomplished, you know, a few of the goals that we set out to do.
Zuby, when they start to make a run in the second half and they get it down to 7, you know, Bryce hits the jumper and then you make 3 big plays, the hook shot, the 3-pointer, and the block that ends up in the Mitchell dunk. Can you sort of share, like, your feelings of personal responsibility about making sure St. John's gets over the finish line?
You know, I just, every time I go out there, you know, I just try to compete at a high level and do whatever it takes to, you know, come out successful, you know, on the defensive end, on the offensive end, and do whatever it takes, like I said, to come out to win. But these guys, I mean, they competed all game, and they understood the assignment. You know, we had to set the tone early against UConn because they're such a great program. So we set the tone early, you know, like we did, you know, pretty much all tournament. But we had to be resilient, you know, to come out with a win like this, and these guys did that.
Kevin.
Bryce, obviously, like, a lot has been said about your decision to transfer from the outside world and all that. Does a tournament like this, a game like this, so celebration after the game, does it make all that worth it, that this journey and what you've been on over the last year?
100%. I feel like the biggest thing for me is I'm just extremely blessed to be back up and playing basketball. I'm at 100%, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. You know, we have a great team right here. I'm in a great group of guys that I love going to work with every night. So, you know, this is some momentum that we can build on going into the tournament, and I just love playing with these guys.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Bryce. Bryce, I mean, you're a graduate student, you're coming from Providence, and I think it's got to feel good for you to come into this program for the first time and get a big win like this. I just want to ask you about your emotions right now. Obviously, you still have a lot of basketball to be played, the NCAA tournament, but right now, obviously some gold right in front of you and a hat to just commemorate a great season from you guys. Just what are your raw emotions after a big win like that?
Yeah, it means a lot. We put in so much work starting in the summer, and we're still putting in a ton of work right now. And it's just so rewarding that all the work that we put in the summer and all the long days, the long nights, the ups and downs, you know, it paid off. We're not done yet. We have a lot more to go that we want to achieve, but this is definitely rewarding right now for sure.
Bryce, early on in the game, you guys got multiple teammates involved outside of Zuby. How much did that kind of help open up the offense, not only for you guys, but also for Zuby later in the game?
For sure. We know what Zuby brings to the table, and we all play off of that. But, you know, when everybody else is clicking as well, I feel like we're just that much harder to guard. You know, everybody's building their confidence when they see shots falling. And, you know, it just means a lot for all of us, you know, just go out there, have extreme confidence, you know, playing off of one another.
Zuby, back-to-back nights, you have Hines and then Reed right after. What's it like having to battle against such high caliber and physical big men on back-to-back nights?
I mean, I think it just brings out the best in me. You know, I love competing at a high level, and obviously, you know, those two are you know, special talents, especially, you know, Terrence. But, you know, it was never about Terrence versus Zuby. You know, it was always about St. John's versus UConn, and doing whatever it takes to come out to win, and that's exactly what we did tonight.
Zuby, you had this experience last year, winning a championship and the euphoria, and then of course some of the disappointment happened in the second round of last year's tournament. How do you take that experience from last year and kind of use that for motivation, or use that to kind of teach the other guys that have not been through this experience before?
You know, just carry the momentum that we have, you know, with this tournament, you know, to the NCAA tournament. But you know, all you can do is, you know, just approach, you know, each and every day in the best way possible. practice, compete at a high level like a champion we are, and we wait to see who our next opponent is. But like I say, we're just gonna enjoy this one tonight, and regroup, sooner than later.
Zach.
Rick, could you just put into perspective, you came here 3 years ago, and a program that obviously has been through a lot of tough times for 25 years, and to win 4 titles in the last 2 years, and to do it with basically different teams, are you even surprised at what's happened the last 2 years?
Last night I had a big treat, because every time I step on the floor of Madison Square Garden, I think of something that has happened in my lifetime. And last night, I drafted a local product from St. John's, Bishop Lachlan, Mark Jackson, and he was here at the game. He's here at the game tonight. He was my rookie of the year. Second year made the All-Star team. So it was such a thrill for me, because it brought back so many incredible memories of him flying a plane every time we scored into the press. And to have Mark here means a lot to me, because it's the past. And now we fast forward to the present, and there's so much history with St. John's, and we brought it all back in 3 years. Not only with a high ranking, but the first time in history of the school to win back-to-back regular seasons, back-to-back tournaments. But I told the guys in the locker room, I said, the one thing I always want, obviously every coach wants to see the team get better, and peak at the right time, but I want to see the individuals get better. And these 4 guys all got a lot better as the season went along. Zuby has taken it from a guy that came in without a lot of confidence to now one of the great leaders in the game that I've ever coached. Bryce Hopkins has got significantly better. And I told Dillon and Bryce going into this, if you guys don't dominate, we can't win this game. And they both played unbelievable. Oziyah's been consistent from the summer to now, gotten a lot better defense, but they've all gotten significantly better at a lot of stages of their careers, which is great for our coaching staff. And for me personally, being a New Yorker and seeing the thrills of our fans and seeing the thrills of the team means a great deal to me to be a small part of this whole thing. So I'm really, really proud. I know Louie's looking down at us with great pride. Joe Lapchick's looking down at us with great pride. And I'm really, really impressed by all of them. With 12:30 to go in the game, I had to take a timeout. I had to waste a timeout, which infuriated me with these guys. And I said to them, you're fatiguing. Don't let this clock run out. You've got to keep the pressure on them offensively. Johnnies don't get tired. Johnnies don't get tired. I took Zuby out right before that, and he said to me, Coach, at 8 minutes, bring me back in. And he did. They all played a lot of minutes in this tournament and didn't fatigue. And at that point, they just turned it around and dominated the game once again against a very good Connecticut team, very good. We held Mullen without a 3-point shot at halftime. These guys played great. I don't know what was better, the defense, the offense, or the attitude. So I'm real proud of all 4 of you guys. You're tremendous young men, as well as being great basketball players, and you've all gotten significantly better, which is what every coach wants.
Second row.
Rick, when we spoke to you on Wednesday, you spoke about how impressed you were, I guess, by how this team had responded from the loss to UConn. I guess now, seeing what they did tonight, just can you kind of describe what allowed them to bounce back in such an emphatic way?
Well, we talked about it, and I told them, I said, look, my Louisville team lost to Providence by 32, and we went to a Final Four. We lost to Notre Dame by 31, we went to the Elite 8. I said, it's meaningless. It's meaningless. Now, what's meaningful is how you come out against Villanova. You can't do anything about that loss, but you can do something about the way you come out against Villanova. And true to form with the character of these guys, they came out, I think, won by 32 points against a very good Villanova team.
All right, we'll go to Kevin.
Rick, can you describe the closing efforts of Dillon Darling? Obviously, his shot wasn't necessarily falling, and then that 13-0 run you guys had to end the game, he scored 6 of the points and was really aggressive.
Yeah, and he didn't have it his way at all during it just shows you about Bells how I said to him, I said, take it easy, Steph, take it easy, Steph, because he's trying to go one-on-one. I said, Zuby, will you do something with this guy? He set a pick, get him out of go one-on-one. And but it shows you it wasn't going his way. He just tried to take over the game offensively and defensively with a great back tip. But listen, these two bookend forwards, they are tremendous. They are tremendous. Don't underrate them. This guy takes a lot of publicity away from them because of his greatness. But those bookends there, the three of them, they make up a great front court. Dillon Mitchell, I was getting all over him. I said, you handle the ball. You handle the ball. You are the point guard. And he was brilliant. Hop kept getting better and better. What a great tournament. Proud of you guys.
Rick, yesterday you mentioned a starving dog approach that you guys came out of the gates with. It was another fast start tonight. Was it that same starving dog approach, or what was it tonight that allowed you guys to
Hey,
get
you know,
off?
we never mentioned revenge because we have so much respect for Connecticut. We just talked about championship. This is a championship. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It's a championship at stake. You guys get a chance to be part of history. It's a championship. It's another night to get better and improve. And we did. We improved every single game. We got better. Remember, we were struggling. Come back against Xavier. Come back against Butler. Come back against Seton Hall. We're always trailing. And we came out, the ball went up, and 3 straight nights, we didn't relent at all. And that's a great sign offensively and a great sign defensively going into the tournament.
Oziyah, since media day, you talked all season about your excitement to be on this team. And here you are, you're a part of a legacy now. And there's some kid somewhere shooting a basketball, looking at St. John's the way they did 40 years ago. What's the lesson that you carry forward that you could tell that kid shooting a basketball?
It might sound a little cliche, but just to never stop working. Me being from California, coming out here, it wasn't for any reason. For no reason. I wanted to come and win a championship, and that's what I had in goal ever since June. So to be in this position and to win it feels great. It feels amazing. And yeah, we're not done yet.
One thing I told these guys, I said, this is Oziyah's 3rd school, and he's a very bright, articulate young man. And Dillon, as well as Bryce, has been to a couple of schools. But they are always going to be Johnny's because their home court is Madison Square Garden. It's the Mecca. They're never, ever going to, they'll talk about the other schools. I'm sure they had great experiences, but they're always going to be Johnny's, even though it's been a short period of time, because Madison Square Garden is their home.
All right, Ralph.
Rick, I kind of fear you might hate this question, but.
You're going to answer. You're going to answer. Yes.
Do you think this team is better situated going into the tournament than last year's team? I know it's a very different team, but do you think the team is
Well,
better?
I think last year's team was one of the best defensive teams in the country. But I believe defense is all scouting. It's all scouting. Because they're all good athletes. It's all about preparing and taking away what the other team does well. If you know what they're going to do and you prepare for that, they're good enough athletes to take away, just like tonight. Now, you obviously will be well prepared for the first game, but then I told these guys that these 3 games have to be the first 3 games in the NCAA tournament because you get a little prep time. We'll be ready for the first game, God willing, when we get by that game, and then the second game you got 1 day. So they're ready for that now. They all know it's prep. Every one of them knows it's prep, and they're all locked in defensively, they're locked in offensively. But one of the things I love tonight is Bryce Hopkins just said, give me the ball, I'm going to the rim, I'm taking over. And then Dillon Mitchell flying down the court. And it was just exciting to see the confidence of both players. And then Oziyah shooting the ball. This guy doesn't, he doesn't need a boost for confidence. He thinks he's the best player in the country, and he shows it every single night.
Coach, in December you talked about how the lack of this team's continuity made it the most challenging thing you ever experienced as a coach. Does this accomplishment and figuring it out make it that much sweeter?
Well, I think every coach would say that right now. Every coach is going through this. We didn't have we had Zuby and Ruben, who played a lot of minutes, and next year we're going to have Ruben and a couple other guys. So it's going to happen every single year. It's going to be tough to get that continuity. The most ridiculous rule in history in NCAA is that professional athletes giving you 4 hours a week. I mean, that is the dumbest thing I've ever witnessed in my lifetime, in all of college basketball. To have professional athletes saying, well, you can only have 4 hours during the summer. I mean, come on, these guys are in this game. They come to St. John's to get better. And so I'm hoping they do away with that ridiculous rule. Just think of how good Bryce would be right now if we had 8 hours a week.
So, Coach, last season when you played Connecticut in Stores, you felt like in the first half of that contest that they had too many easy shots, and then you utilized your press in the second half. I mean, can you just describe what you saw with the press tonight, and what about your team makes them so effective in utilizing that press?
Sometimes the press doesn't get you a lot of turnovers, but what it does get you, it gets you the fatigue element, so their jump shot is not as good. It's happened to me so many times in coaching. You just wear the other team down. These guys, when I called on them, I said, we don't fatigue. You guys, your practice is much tougher than this game. And so we don't fatigue. And it takes away from their jump shot, their movement, because they've got great movement. But these guys were totally locked in tonight, locked in at the full court 90-foot level. Once they crossed half court, they were all locked in defensively.
Rick, when you arrived here 3 years ago, UConn was in the midst of winning back-to-back championships, national championships. Now you've won 2 double championships in the Big East. When you got here and saw what UConn was, I guess, what did you think you had to do to get St. John's to this point, based on knowing that they were at the top of the mountain?
Well, I think it's great that Connecticut's at the top of the mountain, because this league needs more better teams. We need to get Georgetown back. We need to get Providence back. We need to get, I gotta get my son to start recruiting great basketball players. So we need the league to get back. We've got great coaches. And I think the misconception that, well, the Big East got $22 million to spend because they don't have no football. We're not spending $22 million. But we all need to, everybody needs to get $10 million to spend. For the rich people like Georgetown and Villanova, maybe they go to 12. For those people poor trying to get a break in life like us, we maybe get to 10. But everybody needs to get that up there so we can get greatness back. That's what it's all about right now. It's a salary cap. Everybody needs to get the $10, $12 million, and with this coaching in this league, everybody will be back, and the Big East will be great once again.
Zuby, so you've got a second championship here, second tournament championship here, and you know, I'm not going to ask you to compare them because they're both.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to ask you to compare them because I'm sure they're both special, but can you sort of describe what the difference is between like winning the first one and then the experience of the repeat?
The first one was, truly special. Obviously, it was the first time that I experienced winning at such a high level. But, this second time coming around, it was more so not even about me. It was more so about the new guys that came in. I wanted to win for them. I wanted them to feel the thrill of winning a championship here in MSG. And we accomplished that goal. And just to see the excitement, the smiles on your faces, it meant a lot to me. That's like I said, that's who I do it for. I do it for them. I do it for Johnny's Nation, for my family, and I was just excited, and I more so than anything, I wanted to get out the win for them.
You're nodding your head, Dillon. What is it like for you to hear him say that he was more in it for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the year, just our goals coming in, and Zuby, Deku, Ruben, all the guys that were here last year just talked about the accomplishment of winning the Big East, not only the conference, the regular season, but also the tournament. And then seeing it in Carter-Second when they hung the banner up, they got their rings. I mean, it's unreal, and it's something that the new guys wanted to be a part of. And we preached it from the jump what our goals were, and it's a long season, and we got to take one game at a time and 40 minutes at a time. But now to accomplish something that we had early June, it's just a big testament to what we've put in, every day on a day-to-day basis.
Jason.
Coach, you guarded Terrence Reed tonight one-on-one. And your perimeter defenders did an excellent job staying with them. What did you see on film in the scout from the last game that led you to make that decision?
Well, we wanted to trap him big last game in Connecticut, and didn't work out very well. So All I said to Zuby was, look, we're gonna dig if anybody gets below the 3-point line, but Zuby, you got him one-on-one, and just make it difficult. The only thing I ask you, don't foul him, Zuby. Just don't foul him. He makes the shot. He's then gotta guard you, so don't worry about that. And Zuby did a great job of staying out of foul trouble. And we took away the 3-point shot by doing that, and that's what we wanted to do. It wasn't so much that we were trying to stop him, it was we wanted to take away the 3-point line.
Coach, in the early 2010s, after realignment, many called the Big East dead. They said they replaced the poets with businessmen. Yet here
Say
you
it
are.
again, I'm sorry.
They said they replaced the poets with businessmen. Yet here you are. You sold out the Garden again. Back-to-back Big East championships. You brought St. John's back to the national stage. How does it feel?
What do you mean by businessman? I don't get the analogy.
That's what they said. That's what ESPN said famously in their Requiem.
And what was it? What was it?
They said they replaced the poets of the Big East with businessmen. Yet someone like you, a Hall of Famer, national champion, you're a poet of college basketball.
Well,
You're
the Big East right now is mostly Catholic schools. It's mostly schools where enrollments are down. They don't have a lot going for themselves right now, except the pride in their university. We have great pride in our university. Our student body does, our administration does. Our enrollment's down, but sometimes it's better to have a smaller university and bring quality than quantity. And I think that's what St. John's is trying to do right now, is really build quality. And all of us in the Big East, because I know this, look, I've coached in the SEC, ACC, coached in the Big East for a second time. There's great coaches at every level, every level. But in the Big East, it gets extra competitive because for us, every single team that comes into the Garden, we're gonna get their best night because it's Madison Square Garden. It doesn't matter what their record is, we're gonna get their best night. So the Big East will be back, and I think it'll be back big. We got Villanova back. We gotta get the other schools to come back right now. So we got great coaches. Now we just need to beef up the individuals. They gotta get players like the 4 guys I have up here.
All right, got time for one more.
Rick, you mentioned, right here, to your left in the middle. No, you're okay. You mentioned you called the timeout with about 12 and a half to go. How momentous was that swing there with when Bryce gets the mid-range jump shot, Darling forces the turnover, then Zuby hits that 3? Just how momentous
I
was
felt
that?
we were fatiguing a little bit mentally, and I don't like to call a timeout. My staff yelled and said, "We got one coming," and I said, "It's too late for that. I gotta get time. I gotta speak to these guys." And I just said, "Look, you've got the lead. Stop deflating. Get after them." I said, "Stop." A lot of teams with a lead, they don't play to win. They just, and you gotta play to win. You gotta keep the pressure on offensively. And these guys went out and attacked the basket, attacked the defensive end of the court. And it's just a reminder to them. I always sense when he gets a little tired. You know, he works so hard on every offensive rebound. He's battling physically. And it's really tough on him. Now, Ruben's given him some good minutes, but it's tough on him. He's been through a lot, and 3 games in 3 nights playing this type of competition is difficult. So he got a nice rest and came back. But the other 2 guys never relented the entire night. The 2 bookends, they were awesome.
Great. St. John's, congratulations and thank you.